Analysis on this. Joining us from Bethesda, Maryland is David B. Roches. He's an associate professor at the Near East South Asia Center in the National Defense University. David, always good to speak to you. How do you think Trump's going to deal with the war in Ukraine? He wants it to end. He wants all the wars to end while he's in power. And he also gives the impression of being more open to dialogue with Russia now.
Yeah, well, it's important to bear in mind, Trump's autobiography was entitled The Art of the Deal. And for almost 50 years now, he's presented himself as the master deal maker. So he's not going to turn his back on that. But by the same token, what we've seen come out of him and people around him is not so much an articulated strategy for Ukraine as a criticism of the Biden administration's strategy, if you could call it that, which seems to just be to respond to Ukrainian requests for weaponry. There really has been a sort of strategic drift under Biden. So I think that what Trump will do is get together his team and say, right, how do we win here? And if we can't win, how do we, salvage something out of this without appearing weak? That this is a possible moment of danger for Ukraine, but I think that it is just as likely we'll see a surge in support to Ukraine in order to enable negotiations to occur on a favorable basis, as we will see a decrease in support for Ukraine.
David, he has also promised that today he'll be signing several executive orders, possibly up to 100. Could any of those orders involve foreign security?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, yes, some will. But I think that the focus is going to be domestically. And I think that his first priority will be undoing the flurry of executive orders that President Biden has done in his last few days in office. And then I think he will focus on the red meat issues that he ran on. Immigration. I think that, there will be security implications in the Western Hemisphere. I think it's highly likely that he will reinstate the so-called Remain in Mexico program for people applying for asylum in the United States. I think that he will seek to constrain birthright citizenship, which is sort of unique in the United States. I think that he will also seek to expand access to oil and natural gas production in the United States, which will have security interests around the world because increased production there will undermine both Russia and Iran. And I think also he'll, more specifically, I think he'll try to reinstitute the maximum pressure program on Iran, which I think he views as something that would have worked, but it just didn't have enough time.
Yeah, I mean, all of those points that you've highlighted, it really speaks to Trump looking at an international perspective, but he's always maintained this America First policy. So anything that he does do in a global sense is to benefit America. You said that he's the deal maker, but he's also a businessman before he was even the president. So how do you think some of the U.S.'s allies may be looking at some of his foreign policy, especially when it does come to security? Just the issue of Greenland, of Panama, it would seem like an expansionist policy that Trump is also wanting.
Yeah, I got to tell you, that's kind of questionable to me. I mean, Panama, you can understand that's an issue that is long rankled. Panama wouldn't be an independent nation without American intervention, and the canal was built, by Americans under the supervision of Americans with American money. So that's sort of been an irritant going back 70 years. I think that, or going back 50 years almost. So that kind of calls to his base, and that could be negotiated. There could be better terms for it. Greenland, I have a hard time wrapping my head around this because we've had air bases in Greenland for a long time. We occupied Greenland militarily in World War II. I think, honestly, that it was basically just designed to flood the media space and keep bad stories out about his initial nominee for Attorney General Matt Gaetz and Pete Hegseth, his nominee for the Secretary of Defense. Possibly there'll be some sort of clarification or renegotiation of the status of forces of agreement and the sovereign state of Greenland, which is a dependency of Denmark. But we don't have any problems with Denmark, and we shouldn't have any problems with Greenland. So I still view that as more tactical gamesmanship rather than a strategic priority.
David B. de Roches, great to get your analysis as always. Thank you very much.